Hey guys, what's up? So, about to be making Zoey's shinkles, the little throwing daggers from K-pop Demon Hunters. And got my little stencil cut out. And then it was a little smaller than what I wanted. It wasn't long enough. So I just kind of made my own here, a little bit longer. Hardly wanted it longer, so there it is. So I'm gonna take this, trace it out on some wood, and see what I can come up with. All right, so on the show, Zoey carries 3 of these, so I managed to find a pretty thin piece of wood. It's got 3 of these, so this is like 3/8 inch thick. Have no idea what it is, but some scrap wood I had in the shop, so I'm gonna cut these out and shape them out and see what they come out like. Now, got these cut out, stacked up. Now, if I did this perfectly right, we should have 3 that are exactly the same, but y'all know it didn't come out exactly the same. So I'm gonna take them over to the belt sander, stack them up and sand them down and try to get them as close as I can to being perfectly the same, so they all match pretty much. And then from there we'll mark up centers and start carving. Hey guys, so gotta mark my centers. And the way I'm gonna do that is I kind of eyeball where I think the center is, because I mean it's around the top. How are you gonna find it? So I kind of eyeball where that is, jam that underneath my table on my mark, and then roll that down to about where the edge of that point is. And once I get it lined up about where I think it needs to be, a little more there, I just take my pencil and trim the edge of my table, or mark the edge of the table. That's how I find my center. And I'll transfer that line over to here and do the same thing on the other side. And then we need this halfway point here. So you can kind of mark that like that, flip it over, check your mark, and need a little more, add a little more. But that'll be your center mark all the way around. Now this don't have to be necessarily perfect, because this is really just going to be a toy for my daughter to play with, because she's a huge K-pop fan. So we want it to be as close as possible though. So now that we got that marked, I'll probably go ahead, this is going to be our bevel line from center out all the way to there, so that should be our edge. So I'm going to do all 3 the same way. All right, so now that everything's marked up, I'm going to do a little carving. Six first. And second. Okay. All right, for sure. Well, we're off to a good start. So you can see my center line there. So all I did was follow that center line all the way around. And then on the tip, we just kind of angle that in just a little bit, about 1 inch back. And it's not a bad looking ankle, whatever they call this. Throwing dagger, throwing spike, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Now this is pretty thick. Had this been made out of metal, yeah, I would have made it much thinner. And I actually thought about cutting these in half, because I think they're like, what am I on here? Yeah, I'm right at 1/2 inch. So it's probably a little thicker than probably what it should be, but I wanted to have enough meat where if she did want to actually throw this thing, it would have a little weight in it so it could do it. But all in all, not bad. I think it's gonna look pretty cool. So I'm gonna swap over to some sanding tools and sand this down, but before that, I got 2 more of these to make, so. All right, hand sandy time. No, I'm not gonna make you watch. Say it again. What's ready?
Supper.
All right.
Dinner.
So what do you think of my shankles? Throwing sparks.
They look cool.
They're good, yeah. Not sure how I'm gonna make the little doilies that hang off the end, little stringy things.
Add a string.
Yeah, you gonna weave them into that little shape for me? We're probably just gonna make our own little design up here. Oh, I don't know. It's up here somewhere. La da da, la da da, la da da. Oh, here it is. Oh yeah, yeah. See, we need to make that little doily thing there that hangs on them. Look at my feet.
It looks like charms.
Doilies. Doilies. What up, Harley? Alright, so we've got to make the little doily things that hang off of these little throwing daggers, throwing knives. And what I did, I had some rubber washers. I drilled 8 holes through there, and then I went back and kind of ringed them with my Dremel, and then I cut little grooves in between each one. I tried to space them perfectly. They're not perfect. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I think it'll work. I'll paint these kind of a yellowish gold color. I think it'll work out. And then I'll go back with this yarn and try and make the little strings that hold them on there. But that was about the best that I could come up with. So it kind of looks like a honeycomb or something, but it is what it is. But it's about the best idea I could come up with. So hopefully it'll work out. But this is just a little Dremel bit that I used, that little cylinder bit to kind of, once I got my holes drilled, I just cleaned them up with this. And then went back and add little grooves in between and try to make like a little flowery shape. So that's what we got going on so far. Alright, so I'm gonna try and show you how I clean these up and got that shape. Camera will cooperate. All right, now that I've got these 3 little pieces made, I'm going to do an experiment. I think I'm gonna soak these in some sealer. So I've got some brush on polyurethane, and I'm hoping it will stiff these up enough, because the thing about rubber is as you grind, you'll have little tiny pieces there sticking out. See what I mean? Maybe if you look past my shiny forehead, see those little pieces? You can't really sand rubber. It don't work too well, and you don't want to grab and pull because some of these are kind of thin and we may break them. So the idea is hopefully that sealer will stiffen this up enough that maybe I could go back and lightly sand some of these pieces out of here. I may actually take my Dremel bit and just, use it manually to try to clean up some of those. So it don't have to be perfect, but we want it as perfect as we can make it, right? So I'm gonna try that, and while I've got my sealer out, I'm gonna go ahead and seal these 2 before I paint them, because this wood, I can tell you now, is very, very dry. And there's a really good chance this is basswood, because it was really soft, carved real quick. So I think it is. Fuzzy as it is, it's either gonna be basswood or spruce or something of that nature, something really soft. So get these sealed and we'll see how it works out. So I want to kind of put some glyphs on this thing. So I basically just cut out a circle, split a bunch of lines, and made myself a little flower pattern there. So trace that off onto this little throwing dagger. And I think what I'm gonna do is trace around the lines so the flower's lifted, and I'll carve that flower into here. So I'm probably gonna start off with this little ball bit here and see what I can do. Hopefully it'll turn out pretty. Hopefully. All I'm doing right here is just going right around the outside edge of those lines. I'm gonna do that all the way around. Now we got all that cut down, and I kind of went deep in the center part right here on that little circle part because I wanted to have some definition. Now I'm gonna take just a cylinder burr here, and I'm gonna trace out all these lines in between that make the flower. So what you want to do is It doesn't really matter which way you do it. I always bevel mine on the right side, so it looks like they're overlapping on the left side, like this. Not like, but it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you keep them all the same. So you're gonna want to angle this and follow that line and just grind down on one side, if that makes sense. I'll try to show you. Hold on, you're gonna fall for a second. Oh, see, I told you you fell. You see there? Feather that down a little bit. Don't have to be real deep. Should I do one more? Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. Angry Bumblebee. That's it. You just basically follow that line and then come back and feather it out. And that should give you some cool little pedal effects. Now what we're gonna do is use this little, where am I at? There we are. This little ice cream cone shaped piece. And we're gonna trace around this here and kind of feather all that out. There you go. And that should leave us with a raised figure right there in the center. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, that's a heart. That's not a flower. Okay, here's our flower. So, flower on this one, heart on this one, following the same thing. Just trace out with your burr, feather it back down with your little ice cream cone. And this one I stippled the center. But it should leave you with a raised piece in the center. And maybe a star on the last one. Who knows? We'll figure it out as we go. All right, so we've got these basically painted yellow. Went back and hit them with some gold pearl from the airbrush, and then hit them with some lacquer and got them drying. So got these painted, lacquered and drying too, and then there's the one there. See, I hit it with some gold in the middle, but the one in the middle is kind of give you an idea what they're gonna look like when they're all said and done. So I think it's gonna turn out pretty cool. All right, so here is our finished product. This is probably my favorite one, the one we did the flower on. So paint, lacquer, some crazy kind of doily thingy there. You know what this reminds me of? The old pop caps that you would put in your gun and shoot. They have gunpowder in them. That's kind of the shape they were. But you know what? As long as Harley's happy, we'll be good. So I kind of already showed these to her earlier. So that one's got a heart. Yeah, I know, it's a terrible heart. That's the best I could do. I did go back and hit a little blue on the edges too, if you can see. I think these look pretty cool though, for what they are. And hey, one more. There's the other one, Dan. It's right there. There's the last one. So it's a terrible star. Terrible, man, what is it? It looks like a 3-year-old made that star. But yeah, that's cool. So let's see if they will kill. Alright, I think this project's over. So yeah, there's a terrible star, I know. But the kids are gonna love playing with these, and that's all that matters. And her daddy made it. Hi, Jay.